Hey, good evening, everybody. We're about to start off with the Krayon Studio Live with a fantastic educator that I've known for many, many years. Hey, good evening, everybody. And we're about to start great pleasure to welcome Shalini.
Thank you.
Hi, Shalini. Such a pleasure to see you here.
Hi, seeing you after a long time, and it's a pleasure to see you virtually. That's the new normal now. I'm excited.
Absolutely a new normal. So I see that you're working from home.
Yeah, you can see on my home, my dogs around me. So if they bark, you have to forgive me.
But I think that's become the new normal. And you've been homebound for now several months. How does somebody like you, who's been like a absolute traveler, that's how I've known you, how are you coping up with this?
So initially, one thought that one would get over this period and you'll be back. But I think this is a prolonged period, and my kids have been very concerned. So they said, you're not going to step out because it is spread all around. And I think what is very important for an individual to understand, especially being in the education field, that it is important to innovate and create, relearn and learn new things. And I think this is a golden opportunity because I learned video making, I learned how to create ads, I learned a lot. So I do not think it depends on an individual how you want to plan your life, and I think it's very important. Utilize every minute effectively, and use it for something which you really wanted to do. And I think this was a golden opportunity. I'm enjoying it, honestly, loving to be with my dogs. I go for a morning jog. That's all I do, and I think thing which I have missed for so long. 27 years I've been getting up at 5:30 and heading to school at, let's say, around 6:45 or whatever we would leave. But now the pleasure of having the morning tea is just, amazing. So I think I'm taking it as a very positive manner. And I think it's a period to learn, reflect, what have we achieved and what more can we do? And I think that is what I've been very excited. And that's what I've been trying to do during this period.
Fantastic. And welcome to Krayon Studio. So Shalini, Krayon Studio is our effort. We recently launched a platform for children called Krayon. Okay. And the idea of the Krayon platform is to help students' overall development. And because you've known me and you've known the work that we do for over 20 years, we've constantly strived to make education more relevant to life rather than just preparing children for grades and marks. And as a part of Krayon Studio is where children learn overall development. Yeah. And this series we are doing predominantly to reach out to educators and to parents and to tell them about what we're doing with Krayon. And we're doing that by inviting, personalities like you, who I would like to call them as the real life heroes, who've been out there making a huge difference to the way children are growing up and educating. And so welcome to the Krayon Studio Live.
Thank you.
Shalini, I've known you now for almost 20 years, and that's what we recollected when we connected earlier today. It was in 2001 when I first did my VIBGYOR event in Delhi. That's when you participated. You were a part of the Goenka School. And for all those who've tuned in, Shalini has had an illustrious educational career. Goenka, when she was the activities coordinator, she went on to the Heritage School, and then were you the founder principal of American Excelsior?
Yes.
Or you were there with them for a long time?
Yeah, 9.5 years.
9.5 years with American Excelsior School, which was a very prominent school in Gurgaon. And then you had these leadership stints with both the GEMS group, the large group school, as well as with VIBGYOR. And finally, now you've decided to say goodbye to a job and you've become an entrepreneur. So welcome to this side of the world, because that's the only world that I've lived in. So how does it feel being your own boss and being your entrepreneur in an education space?
Well, I'll tell you both the positives and the negatives. But before I begin, I'm when I'm talking to you, I'm reminded of that one young boy walked into my room and he said, I'm planning a huge inter-school event, And I still remember you, Sultan, and those are beautiful, nostalgic memories. And I remember telling you, wow, I'm really excited because I've always wanted to be a different kind of an educator, bringing about the best of each child. It's not only academics. I myself was very poor in maths, but I think I've survived and,
That makes the two of us. Even I was very poor in.
and I still remember there was your event. It's so vivid in my eyes because the children loved it, and it was a very exciting. So I'm really, really happy to be with you today. You have come a long way, Sultan, and I think I feel proud to be associated. The young man has become a big man now, and it is exciting for an educator because that's the educator's biggest award. So regarding my journey, yeah, I did start. I mean, in fact, I started with the travel world. When I got out of college, I just didn't want to study because the how the education system is focuses, pressurizes you so much. So I told my dad I want to travel. Being in a middle class family, we couldn't afford that time. So the best way was to join a travel line, and that's how I got into travel line. But
So you went to the travel line because you like traveling.
yeah, yeah.
And did you get to
And
travel a lot?
pardon?
Did you travel a lot?
Yeah, of course I traveled. I traveled Venice, Rome, everywhere I went, and I was very excited, very cushy job. And then suddenly, I must tell you how I got into education. That time there was plague in Delhi, and it was about 1994. I still remember there was an air-conditioned first school opening in Delhi. I mean, in India, and I thought this is very similar. I had small kids at that time, so I couldn't work. So I had left my job, and I was looking for a new opportunity. And as our education system is, we are not prepared. We don't know what exactly we want to do. So I remember walking into Mr. Goenka's office, and he told me, "What are you going to do? Your form is blank, no BEd, nothing." I said, "I can sing, I can dance, I can do a lot of things. I can have fun with kids." So I joined them as a music teacher, and then
So you
slowly
did.
the journey. Yeah. I used to
And I
go in
know
different.
your daughter is a fantastic musician, so it
Yeah.
runs in the blood. It runs in the family.
Yeah, so my daughter and my son. My son got into death metal. I mean, which my
Right.
mom used to say, "Who's barking? I can't make out." And my daughter is, of course, into pop and the blues and all those things. But the GD Goenka was a good pedestal for me to experiment. So I realized my innermost potential that I wanted to be a different teacher. I've done crazy things in my life. In fact, Times of India captured it. I would dress up like Gandhi if I had to teach Gandhi. I would wear chunky jewelry if I was teaching Indus Valley jewelry. My focus, which I feel the teachers, because teachers are listening, my focus has been always you should focus on the kid because he's the most important individual in a teacher's life, much more important than your school head or coordinators or anybody. So I had a great time. And then, of course, I joined Heritage. And as you told me, I decided to start my own thing. I thought I've had enough of making other people rich. Let me see how it is to go on the other side of the table. It's not easy. Yeah, but I'm determined, and yeah, I have my dreams, and I think age is no bar for me. And I feel, even there are certain things which I still want to do, and I'm determined. I'm going to do it. So I launched my company, and as luck would have it, COVID started. So
Yes.
you had to innovate. So I started with online trainings, and I think I've been pretty happy, and I'm doing a good job so far. I'm excited.
So good luck on that journey because
Thank
I
you.
know being an entrepreneur that there are immense challenges as well as there's a lot of satisfaction doing things on your own.
Yeah.
Good luck to you on that journey. So I
Thank
want
you.
this conversation to focus a lot around some of your experiences,
Yeah.
predominantly about the overall development of children.
Yeah.
But let me start off by asking you a very simple question.
Yeah.
You somebody who have, you've always kept your character alive.
Yeah.
You know, while you say that, we met almost 20 years ago and I was a young kid out of college. And one thing that I've seen in you is a lot of consistency, your passion and your commitment to education. That's not changed. So let me ask you a question. How have you allowed your inner self to be alive in spite of all the systems that you've worked in? Because I've seen a lot of educators
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
start off as these bubbly young teachers, and over a period of time, they mellow down. How did you keep that alive, and how are you still keeping that alive?
I think, Sultan, it's very important to understand that you need to understand what is education. You need to question yourself, why did I become an educator? What is the reason? I became an educator because I love kids. I think they give you energy, they energize you. So your focus has to be very clear in your mind. Have you entered? Because a lot of people, when you interview, you want to be a teacher. Oh, it's a half day job. It's not a half day job. I think it requires more hours than a corporate job. It's a 24/7 job. You need to be available for the kid, for the parent, because for every parent, his child is not SON. It is SUN, Aankhon ka Tara. You have to be there. So as a teacher, what has kept me alive, I think, my drive, my inner drive. I mean, your passion has to be alive when you enjoy doing something. When as Steve Jobs said, when you listen to your heart, and I've always listened to my heart. I love this profession. I mean, I've never closed my eyes and said, oh God, well, where am I? So it is very important to keep your passion alive. And how you keep that is try and do things. I find a lot of leaders, I mean, as you said, they start off in a very bubbly and then they fall into the systems. Systems are going to be there. Everything is going to be the same. There will be people who are ready to pull you down. How do you come afloat? If you have a great idea, do it. That's what I believe in. You need to be vocal. You need to be able to do things. You need to walk the talk. Like I'll give you a little example. If a teacher comes to you and she's not able to make a lesson plan, go out there and sit with her and work. That is what gives you the energy, because you are involved. You need to be, and that's what has kept me alive. I had a team. There were people who were thinking, but at the same time, you need to be there to be able to not just guide them and order them. Forget that. I never wanted to be a boss. I wanted to be a leader. And I think that's very important. And it's so similar to you, Sultan, because I've seen your journey. I really want to hear from you. I mean, you are doing something fantastic. This is what, as a teacher, I have tried to do. Like if I was a history teacher, I would tell children, I mean, that time Google was not there. So we had to think only from our brains, new ideas.
Or go to the library.
And my heart pains when I still see teachers carrying that hanger with planets, because I did that 20 years back. Today, there are new resources, there is so much. So I think what you are doing, because this is a very neglected sector in the education, the focus is academics, 100 आ गए बच्चा बहुत बढ़िया बन गया, ये नहीं पता बच्चा 30 years में वो बेचारा इधर उधर ढूंढ रहा है मैं क्या करूं. So I think the development of life skills as an educator, and that's the biggest aha moment. I mean, I've got a lot of awards. I really don't value them. Ask me honestly, Now I've stopped posting them also because I feel congratulations. I'd rather post a letter from a student. And that is those are my treasures. A child telling you that, okay, like I had a kid. I mean, he would, pull my cheek when he was in the class, and I would allow. I was not you need to be friendly with the students, because how do you teach? Understanding the child, connecting with the child. You may be a PhD, you may be a gold medalist, but if you do not connect, you're going to fail as a teacher. So I think that's very important. That has kept my passion alive. And I want to hear you. You are doing something, giving a platform. My God, I mean, I wish I was young. I would have definitely participated, and all my kids were young, because it is, I think, parents must see this. So I want to really know about your, how you are doing it and what exactly it is, because I'm very excited to know.
See, for me, Shalini, I am a product of inter-school, inter-college competitions. I'm a product. Yeah. Because I built my confidence in school because of my public speaking, and I participated in those debates. And when I went to college, I was absolutely good for nothing in my studies. The only thing I was good at was I could speak well. So at college, I had the responsibility of hosting and emceeing all college events. Coincidentally, I had one of the school teachers who asked me to come and help her debate club out. And that's how I started my career. And if you ask me, even today, more than 20 years later, I'm still doing the same thing in probably more larger, different projects. The idea of my work has always been that education not only happens with the books in the classroom or on the screen today, it happens beyond when children are doing a lot of other activities. I've in fact published papers, research papers on how a child participating in a dance or in a debate actually learns a lot more life skills than most of the other subjects would teach in class. So then my journey has been a consistent journey of, here's something that I'm going to share, and I share this very often. In over 20 years of working with kids, I've realized you cannot teach children.
Yeah.
You cannot teach children, but the interesting thing is that children learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, as an educator, as a parent, my duty or my obligation is to create an environment, create an experience for the children. So, and that's my life journey. I create experiences. So, when I organize a Whiskit event, or when I'm organizing a Dell Champs or any of the events that we organize, or when I've made a film which children watch, these are all experiences. Or when I publish a magazine called Mentor, when an educator reads it, it's an experience for them because they're learning from somebody else's experience. So for me, I think what we take pride at in LXL Ideas is the fact that we've stayed true to our cause. We've been very consistent. And what it has given us is exactly the question you asked me. It has given us a lot of love. It's given us a lot of respect. And educators like you, and in their thousands across the country, and millions of kids have benefited from what we've done. And now with this Krayon platform, we are probably in a similar situation like you are, where you've been physically in school all your life, and now you're trying to add value to the system digitally.
Yeah,
we were doing the same thing with the Krayon platform. And I cannot be more thankful to this journey. And it's been an absolutely enjoyable experience. But I have one grouse. And that grouse is that the focus of an average school today, compared to what it was 20 years ago on academic grades, is much, much higher. It's absolutely unfortunate that overall development remains in the brochures of most schools. It remains in the principal's speech during the annual day or the PTA. But beyond that, in action on ground, it actually schools had better overall development of kids, I think, 20 years ago than they do now. There is more pressure from the parents on academic grades, and that's a worry. So that brings me to the question to you: how does individuals like you or me, and there are lots of people that I know who are trying to make that difference. How do we educate that parent? And how do we shout louder than the noise which they hear on television and on the social media, that getting academic grades and here's an easy app or whatever that you get? So how do you cope and deal with this?
So, Sultan, in my journey, I mean, I've dealt with a lot of parents. And we must remember one thing for every parent: if my child is happy, I am fine. If my child is learning, I am fine. The ultimate goal of why do we send a child to school is my child must learn. And definitely, parents want that my child should do everything. What is very important as a school is to build a parent-school connect. There needs to be transparency. We must not treat parent as a customer. That's what I've never done in my life. A parent is an integral part. No growth of a child can take place if a teacher and a parent are not on the same platform. You need to trust each other. You need to have confidence, in the school. And how do you do that? The leadership has to take a lead. How do you build the parental connect? I don't want to, there was one school where I joined, and I'm not lying. There were 500 parents standing outside because of some issues. And I actually folded my hands like a politician, and I'm being very candid. This is live. A lot of them must be listening. And I said, give me 6 months. I'll prove it to you. What they want, every parent, we must understand. What are the desires? I want my child to learn. I want my child to participate in a lot of things. How do schools, that's why I love your platform. Because see, schools focus on, naturally, they have to put up a program. They're going to take the best kids, right? I mean, you wouldn't believe it. I never got a mic in my school because nobody thought I was good. But I'm being able to speak. So you have to make parents realize, because when we are putting up a show, we are going to dress up, right? We are not going to come in a night clothes. The same way, you have to make the parent understand. And I actually spoke on the annual day where every child cannot become a speaker. Every child cannot become a debater. The school, you should trust the school, but the school gives us the basic skills, right? School is only 6 hours. who develops those skills is a parent. So you need to have parenting sessions, educate them. Like I always say, don't turn your home into a school. Let the school do its job. Like how were we when we were kids? I mean, you are much younger than me, and I'm not telling my age. So when I was in school, the school did its job of teaching me academics. Okay. That was the school's job that time. When I came home, my mom taught me the life skills. Okay, make your bed, put the table or whatever, extra work. I don't remember my mother questioning me, what is your homework? So we did it because we
You
were,
think
yeah,
so? That's a change that I've seen as well, Shalini. Is that
yeah,
I think the right word is interference of
yeah,
a
yeah,
parent
yeah,
in the relationship between the school and a child or a teacher and a child is a
yeah,
lot more today. And
yeah.
that actually causes a lot more harm than good. Is that what you would say?
Yes, yes, of course. Parent
And
needs to
how does one parent deal with it in these pandemic times now? They have no choice but to be involved.
they need to understand, the first thing, it's not a holiday. Okay, schools are running. So, you set a routine for your child, you have your work. See, parents talk, I mean, you must have heard, I always say, a lot of mothers, they give up their jobs because they have small kids. Okay, they want to take care, right? I think what is important is not the quantity of time, it's the quality of time. Like when you fall in love, what happens? You look into each other's eyes, you sit, you are just there for that person. That's what quality is. So you need to understand that even if you give your child 1 hour, what is that kind of conversation? Are you developing his skills or are you just checking what the child is doing in the school? So the child goes, it's like a pressure cooker scene. Everybody is putting pressure. The teacher is putting, the
Yes.
school is putting, the parent is putting, the poor child, nobody is asking, what do you want? And the child is saying, I want to sing. I want to dance. I'm not good at this. I mean, I had an autistic kid in grade 11, and his parents wanted him to do really well, but he was a very good debater. And he's doing very well in life today. He had a problem. The parents must accept that. And they have to stop comparing. Every child cannot, and no, everybody cannot come first. It's all about participation, which is more important, I think.
Fantastic. I think that's so important, and one of the things that we've always encouraged, because you have a million, sometimes 100,000 kids participating in an event, and not everybody can win, and that's a fact of life. But the journey of an individual participating in any one of these things, I think what I would highly, if there's one message if I would like to give a parent
Yeah,
is let a child play,
yeah,
let a child participate. Every time a child plays doesn't mean he has to win the game. And every time a child participates, it doesn't mean that he has to come first. And I think that madness or that fascination with trying to achieve the best for the child, they misconstrue that for the victory podium every time a child performs. In fact, I think children learn a lot more with their failures
yeah,
than with their successes. And that's a fact for you and me as well.
yeah,
Invariably, uh, the fact also remains is that we create a mortal fear in children of not succeeding.
yeah,
I wouldn't use the word failure.
yeah,
We create that. And I
yeah,
think children getting a lot of exposure in various activities and as many as they can, in addition to activities, sport or travel, meeting different people. One of the things I always believe that parents should do is encourage children to just work,
yeah,
right from taking care of things at home to actually being involved in summer projects by going and doing different kinds of things is
yeah,
what helps in overall development.
yeah.
Now, in this segment, the next segment, what I want
I
is
just want to add, Sultan, one thing. I think the foundation years are very important. When we are
right.
all our attitude and behavior are formed between 0 to 10. And I believe that is a stage when competition should not be introduced in a school. I mean, I had a sports day where every child would get a medal. So some parents did not like it. They said, my child came first. Why are you giving everybody a medal? But my strategy was, I'm not concerned about the child who comes first. He will come first in any way. But what about the child who comes last? What kind of mental trauma the child goes through? I've gone through that as a child. When I was, because I was never given a mic and I thought I could sing. I wanted to be, my dream was to become Lata Mangeshkar. Now my voice is gone. But I really wanted to get into singing, but nobody gave me the mic. And you know what insecurities you go through. So the minute I'll go to the teacher, I want to sing, she'll say, get lost. You know, there are better people. Fine. But my mother was there to support me. But I think 0 to 5 or 0 to 10 is the stage where let everybody participate, give everybody a medal, let them feel good, because that feel good factor brings in a lot of confidence in the child at that stage, that he's not scared to face failure. And then educate him that why it is important, for you to win, or what is it. He doesn't understand. Imagine a 6-year-old running in a race, coming last. How will the child feel?
Okay.
Parents cry more than the child. So I believe very strongly, and I wanted to just add that point.
And I think also what's important is for that child who came last in the running race,
Yeah.
if the parent or the teacher can identify what is it that the child is good at, because every child has some area where they're good at. I think the purpose of primary school education, and to some extent middle school, and definitely the purpose of parenting, is to identify what a child enjoys doing.
Yeah.
Right? And I think if once you identify that, it gives a huge boost of confidence to the child.
Yeah.
So Shalini, let's move to the next segment, and I want these answers to be like absolutely crisp and to the point, right? You've been an educator. Tell me, what are the 3 things that educators do well?
What are the 3 things educators
do well? And what are the 3 things that they completely goof up or they're not doing well?
I think what they do well is, taking a class. I mean, in the sense, I'm not saying whether it's a good class or a bad class, but taking a class. They all do it without.
Yeah, now they've adapted to the online. Okay, so I'll take that.
Focus is more on the objectives rather than the outcome, to be very honest. I'm being very candid. People will beat me up, but I'm being honest. Yeah. So that's the first thing they do. Second thing, I feel let's add humor. They dress up well. I think I like the way.
I agree with you on that. I think most educators carry themselves.
Which is important. Parents sometimes don't like it, but I think it's very important because children love colors. I've made it a point that if I'm entering a class, I should look good, fresh. Something which children can relate to.
And I hate it when schools have uniforms for teachers, because somehow you're making them look like a factory staff, right? But
I never appreciated, but sometimes you have to just follow. And the third thing, I think, I see you know me very well. I think out of the box. The third thing educators are very good at is gossiping in the staff room.
I like it how beautifully you put that as a positive for the.
I miss the staff room. It's an area where you totally bring your husband down, your mother-in-law's down, and it's a fun area. It's a very important part in an educator's life because it helps you to collaborate.
I'm a parent. My child is very small; she's just 2. But I'm a parent, and I have a 10-year-old, 12-year-old. Imagine, what is the advice you would give me now in this pandemic time?
Just give quality time to your child. Okay. Set a schedule, it's a routine is very important for children, for them to learn time management. In India, the problem is we don't value time, and time is money, right? So we need to teach them time management, teach them financial management. Don't turn your home into a school. Trust your child. Okay, if he's not attending a class, it's all right. There are days we don't want to do something. It's all right. Let him fail. Let him understand. And teach him and make him understand the logical reasoning. Children understand logical reasoning. Why do I need to study? Most of the kids, if you ask Sultan, they will say, I study to pass an exam. No, it's not
that's
that.
What they say. Absolutely.
Why do we study? To gain knowledge, to be able to, stand in front of 20 people and talk about what we have done. So I think, and most important thing, Sultan, a 10-year-old, parents must inculcate the habit of reading. Reading is totally dead in our society, and that's why the language, I don't even know what will happen to the language, but it is extremly important. And I think to develop
I leave that language to another debate, because I personally believe that the way we're going to communicate the written word is going to be extinct in my lifetime. Not extinct, but it might be almost extinct. I think we're going to be more visual, vocal, verbal. because even our WhatsApp messages or our posts these days are videos and verbal messaging. But very well made points. The pandemic has brought a lot of changes. Right. What are a couple of things that you think schools will never be the same again? What are those one or two things that will change completely for schools?
I am pretty scared actually, because school is a beautiful place. Like when you travel in a bus, the maximum your best friends are your bus friends, because you chat with them. I think those things will disappear because we'll have to maintain social distancing, and we don't know for how long, maybe for a year, maybe for 2 years. And what the research is saying that maybe this will be the new norm, because this pandemic will go, another one might come. So schools will become more, I think, like nerve centers. Around 10 years back, I had a dream. I wanted a school like that. And I think it's coming true now, because children will come to school to learn social skills.
I agree with you more. I can't agree with you more.
And they have to start doing self-studying, self-learning, which is, I think, golden thing during this time.
So here's my prediction. I'm just picking off completely from what you've said. And this is what I've been working on for over now 8 or 10 years. And I've written articles about it. Academic learning. I think the digital and the online medium will teach as well as any teacher can and have in the past. So schools will not be spaces where children will go in future for only studying academics. But there is no online medium that can replace that, that conversation in a bus or playing that sport on that field or participating in any extracurricular activities. Or, I can learn science, but the school will have the lab where I can actually feel the science.
Yeah, sure.
Right? That a chemistry lab where I get the smell of a hydrochloric acid. Now, that's something nothing online can ever prepare me for. So I think schools will become activity centers where children will actually experience what they probably learned online and experience human skills and social skills. I only urge all the educators who will be listening to it that the faster the change, the better it is. Otherwise, they're going to become like the STD, ISD booths of the past, which are extinct now. Nobody needs them because everyone's got a mobile. You don't use them, right? And there is a lot of industry that have gone extinct. And the other prediction that I think will probably come true, Shalini, is that a lot of higher education is going to go redundant.
Because I think focus will become on skills. Focus will become on skills. And then moreover, Sultan, what I wanted to just add, what is happening right now, we are preparing them for jobs which we don't even know will exist. Like I think when you and me met, we didn't know that radio jockey or a blogging is going to be a profession of the future. We didn't even know that.
Stars and podcasters and YouTubers and God knows what else.
So I think the parents need to realize, and the educators, that how important the co-curricular is. It is extremely important for the development of your brain, for the development of confidence, for the development of your skills. And I think that's what you said. And I also believe that schools will be just nerve centers where, today because I can learn at my own pace. I can, if I'm I need to know my prime time since the child. But see, how did education start? How did the schooling begin? We all know it was part of an industrial era. We wanted to, this is the time the child will go, 7 o'clock. Imagine a small 5-year-old child getting up at 7:30. It's like criminal. He wants to sleep till 10. So I think a lot of things will change now. And I find the youth is moving towards that. And parents need to support that.
Thankfully, some of them are, but a lot of them are still quite rigid. So let me end by asking you a personal question. You've got two very, talented, artistic children. And I'm also aware that you've had your own ups and downs. All parents have their ups and downs, especially when they are teenagers as children, right? So can you take us a couple of learnings that you've had as a parent? With your own children, right?
My biggest learning is, you suddenly know your daughter is grown up when they start telling you are wrong. But I think what I have done as a parent, I have always believed very strongly that I've trusted them. They have, see, there are things when parents say today, I'm my child's best friend, you can never be your child's best friend. You're a parent. There are a lot of things nobody is going to share with us, right? So what I've done is you be friendly with them, trust them that they will not go wrong, give them the values, the roots, which are very important. And in fact, my daughter, she started a journey with the corporate world, and suddenly one day she came and she says, I want to, do music. And suddenly, I mean, for a minute, my heart missed a beat. I said, oh my God, because, that sometimes the mom takes over. But then I said, no, okay, fine. If you're confident, you're going to struggle. If you're prepared, you go ahead and do it. Same thing with my son. They just came home and they said, okay, I think we will start a midnight delivery. Nobody does it, American food. I said, okay, go ahead. You have to believe in your child. When you believe in your child and when you trust them, I tell you, they will always do well because there is a support.
So one of the things that I always love to hear is, and which is where I get most of my learning, is stories of failure, right? So can you mention one thing that comes to your mind when I ask you what's been I'm sure there have been many. We all have many successes and highs and also a lot of failures. So as an educator, if I can ask you, what's the one about, if you have to point out one failure of yours, what would you call that?
I think when I started my journey, I think that was a time it's very challenging. Like that's what I mean. I'm linking it to what I'm planning to do now. When I became a school director, I struggled for the first 2 years. And you faced, because you didn't know how to handle teams, you didn't know how to prepare a budget, you didn't know how to do strategic planning. You're just a headmistress, you're a teacher, right? So because in our country there are no leadership trainings like that, which teaches you all these facts. So I think that's where I failed almost quite a lot of time. I would come back and I'll be very, very depressed. There was an incident also in the school. I didn't know how to handle parents at that time. But I think what helped me overcome all that is no confidence in yourself. When you're failing, and there was one particular incident I definitely don't want to share, but it was very, very bad. I was on all news channels, by the way. So and when people call me, they said, you're coming on Times Now, whatever channel, ZTV. I said, how am I looking? I was more concerned about how I was looking, because the channels are going to, show what they want to show. They're not going to show what you spoke. They will edit and cut and all. So it was fine. So it was a lot of failure. But I think what helped me overcome that was my family, my husband, my kids who supported me. Everybody, the whole world told me, you quit your job. I said, no, I'm not going to, because this is a time to be with the school and prove to people that, whatever happened is by chance. It is not. So I think what is important as an educator or as a school leader, you need to be prepared. It's like you're sitting, I always say teaching is like, you're sitting on you're riding a bike. The only difference is the bike is always on fire. It is exactly like that, because you go to school with a plan, something will happen, your plan goes out of the window. So as a leader also, most important is to motivate your teams to be able to, I used to be the first one, and my teachers remember me. I'm sure they're watching. My hugs were famous. Thanks to COVID, now we can't do that. But I would give them a hug in the morning. It's very important as a school.
I think that's one thing that, according to me, that's going to change after COVID, unfortunately. I miss shaking hands and, with people and hugging them. But I think in future...
somehow, okay, namaste is good. But somehow I feel, that touch is
cannot agree with you.
Yeah. But
Absolutely.
anyway, so I think ability to deal with failure, if you may ask me, I'm a very optimistic person. And when I sleep in the night, I always tell myself, this will pass. So you have to be very confident, because, otherwise I'll have all wrinkles by now and maybe those 4 or 5 lines. Look at me. My hair is still not gone white during the COVID, no parlor. So I think it's your inner happiness, your passion.
I agree with you.
Which keeps you.
And I see that glow, and I have to mention that, your bindi has always been a highlight of your the way you carry yourself. And I think I'm absolutely amazed to see it. The pandemic has not shaken your bindi away.
Thank God. Pandemic, the best part is now, even if you wear a mask, my bindi will be there. I'm so happy. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Shalini. It's been such a pleasure having a chat with you and trying to get an insight into the mind of somebody who's been with education for so long and tried doing so many different things. And I just wanted to end by requesting everyone who's been around that I think the one of the country's oldest and largest inter-school literary and cultural event, the WizKids, is coming back after a gap of almost 3 years. It's on the Krayon app. It's available on the Android store already, and it should be on the iOS very soon as well over the course of this week. And apart from that, we also have the Kids Film Festival happening on it. So it's a platform where you can watch great content, you can participate and learn. So I'd love to have all of you downloading it. And if you're educators watching, you must encourage your school to participate in it. So Shalini, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure having this chat with
Before you say goodbye,
Oh,
I
yeah.
really want to say I want to wish you all the best with your new the Krayon platform. And my request also will be to all the parents, all educators, that it is extremely important. Academics will stay always. Nobody's denying that, but these things are extremely important. Like you and me are example. I mean, I've been always I was not a brilliant child. If my teachers are on Facebook, I'm sure they're watching. They'll tell you how bad I was. But I think I did something in my life, and I think these are the skills which help. So I really wish you all the best, and I want to thank you for calling me, because I had a great time chatting with you, and I just loved it. Thank you so much.
It's always a pleasure. And like you very rightly said, I'm an entrepreneur and I understand that when you're trying to do something new and something different and something which is useful, I think you just need to be persistent. And I'm looking forward to your encouragement and everybody else who's a part of this to support and encourage Krayon and the platform that we're creating. And hopefully a few years down the line, I'm going to call you back on a show and tell you, remember when we had launched Krayon, I had you on my show and look at what we've created out of it. And I'm going to, and that's a promise that I make to you. And I'm going to come back, get you on a call and tell you, how many million people are being benefited from Krayon.
I'm so happy.
So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And all the best.
It's such a pleasure having you here. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You on a call and tell you, how many million people are being benefited from Krayon.
I'm so happy.
So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And all the best.
It's such a pleasure having you here. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You on a call and tell you, how many million people are being benefited from Krayon.
I'm so happy.
So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And all the best.
It's such a pleasure having you here. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You on a call and tell you, how many million people are being benefited from Krayon.
I'm so happy.
So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And all the best.
It's such a pleasure having you here. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You on a call and tell you, how many million people are being benefited from Krayon.
I'm so happy.
So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Thank you so much.